Hello, gang. Fancy meeting you here. It is just after high noon, 12:06 to be precise. My name is Matt Murphy, and this is the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm so pleased to be with you. It's one of my favorite 3 hours of the day. You know, there's only, how many 3-hour segments are there in a day? 24 divided 8. Is that right? Did I get that right?
8 times 3 is 24.
And they said I could. And you know what? And Coach Waller said I couldn't do math. It's
where is he now?
Probably dead. And if you want
that shows what he knew.
Truthful about the whole thing, but we all got it coming, kid. One way or the other, 3 hours. That's my allotment of time, and I hope you're able to spend every single moment with me. I certainly enjoy spending it with you. It is a Wednesday edition, July 24, 2024, and we've got lots to discuss. I mean, my goodness gracious. It is an embarrassment of riches. I would say it that way. I hesitate to say it that way because some of this news is very negative, some quite positive, and we'll cover it all for you, negative or positive, on the Matt Murphy Show today, and hand off to Brian Wilton at 3 o'clock. It's episode 617 of our proceedings today. It is a good day, although a little rainy outside in the Music City. Rain showers throughout the afternoon. Nothing severe, as you just heard from our weather prognosticator there. But at the same time, just be on the lookout for some of those raindrops. It is LFT 144. Locks for Trump 144. Day 144, I should say. My commitment to this country and the betterment of said same is that I'm growing my hair out until we get a new president-elect. And we're going to have one on November 6th. And let's all get on our knees tonight and pray God that it's not Kamala Harris. And it ain't because she's a female, and it's not because she is a person of color. It's because she's a disaster as a political figure. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. All right. I'm going to demand, Bell. Hello, Bell.
Hello, sir.
How's it going?
Good.
You doing all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a very productive morning, shall we say.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You have a nice BM, did you?
No, but I did get a lot of work done.
I used to, well, no, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say, I almost said something that I would have regretted. It was true, but I can't say it. If you hit me up on social media, I'll tell you, but I can't say it on the radio.
Just because it's true doesn't mean you need to vocalize it.
I need to say it on the radio. That's true. So here's what I'm going to demand of you over the next several weeks. We got to get more Kamala Harris.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because if I listen to the I'm speaking one more time, I'm going to just pull. Okay, one more time.
That still needs to be the cornerstone, though, because you have to understand that. No matter what you're saying, it will never be as important as what she's saying.
There's no question about it. No question about it. So they wrapped that up pretty quick, didn't they? They just took the votes of 15 million people. They took all of the lies that they've been telling over the past how many months and years. For the last how many years we've been told that Joe Biden is just fine. How long have we been? I mean, he's cogent. Joe Scarborough, MSNBC. He's as cogent. I've known this man for years. He's cogent.
The best Joe Biden that there has been.
The best Joe. He said that. This is the best guy, the best version of Joe that you're ever going to get. Lying, a bunch of lying liars, telling lies, and spewing half-truths to the amusement of those of us that know better. Sadly, they're depending on the stupidity of their listening audience or viewing audience, as the case may be. And obviously, we know they're telling lies. We need to impart that knowledge onto the rest of the American people. Now, as predicted by me yesterday, Kamala Harris is going to have a wonderful little honeymoon. The mainstream media is going to forget all of the lies that they told just weeks ago. They're going to forget that Joe Biden was the greatest thing since sliced bread. They're going to forget that all of this nonsense about Joe being too old to serve was, quote, cheap fakes, end quote. That was from the White House, not from me. Matt Murphy didn't say cheap fake. Chris Hand didn't say cheap fake. Dan Mandis did not say. Brian Wiltz. The White House said cheap fakes.
KJP.
And they were lying when they said it. They knew they were lying. It was the only thing they had. The last refuge of a drowning person is to grab anything they can find and try to keep afloat.
And KJP said that right in the middle of a press conference.
Cheap fakes.
And it was precisely what you said. She was stumbling and had to grab something.
Mm-hmm. Made it up. Made it up on the spot and then ran with it. These aren't deep fakes. These are cheap fakes. Mm-hmm. But now we know all of that is true. The media understands something about the mainstream media. Propaganda wing of the Democrat Party, sure. They never hold themselves to account. The leftist, statist media in this country will never admit that they did anything wrong. It is left to us to point it out and to make sure that the American people are aware that they think you're dumb and they treat you as such, and they're going to do everything in their power to subvert and convince through their own propaganda machine. And you need to know that. The same people that are telling us that Kamala Harris is the best thing ever were telling us 3 months ago that Joe Biden was the best thing ever. The same people that 3 years ago declared that Joe Biden, as he declared it, named Kamala Harris as the border czar. The same media, I'm trying to be calm. I don't want to get over animated. I don't want to start screaming at you because you deserve better. But it just destroys me how some people fall for this stuff and how dumb they truly think we are. It owns me how dumb they think you are. That they will sit there and lie to your face and demand that you swallow as truth what they tell you. In 2021, Joe Biden declared, I've got the audio, I can play the clips and will. He declared, we've got a serious border problem. When they finally admitted that they had a border problem, he said, I'm going to send Vice President Harris down there. She's going to handle this thing. She's going to go to Guatemala and Argentina and Venezuela and all the rest. And, of course, Mexico. And she's going to wag her fingers at these countries, and we'll see all of this border issue dry up. And it never did. She was going to handle it. Remember when Lester Holt said, you ever been in the border? I've never been to Europe either, last year. All of that. Joe Biden used the words border czar. And now I understand that this is not an official declaration. It's not an official title. And that's what the mainstream media is hanging on right now, as if we are dumb. They hang on the specific nomenclature and they say, well, there's not an official title as border czar. Ha ha ha. She's vice president. Well, she's never been a border czar. You think we're stupid? They had a political problem. A year into his presidency, there was a flood of illegal alien activity, and people are scratching their heads and saying, wait a minute, we got COVID going on. You're letting all of these people come in with COVID. You're demanding that we wear masks. You're demanding that we get vaccinated. You're demanding all of these things on the American people. Meanwhile, all of these unvaccinated, unknown individuals are just flooding the zone. What the hell are you doing? Where's Donald Trump? Oh, we're gonna fix this, okay? We're gonna fix it. I tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna send Kamala down there. And now they're gaslighting us and telling us that it never happened. The same media outlets, the very same media outlets that reported that it did happen. Axios, March 24th, 2021, Axios. Biden puts Harris in charge of border crisis. Axios from 5 hours ago. All right, so 3.5 years ago, March 24th, 2021, Biden puts Harris in charge of border crisis. The same author, a person by the name of Steph W. Knight, Kight, or Kite. I guess it would be Kite. Steph Kite wrote in 2021, Biden puts Harris in charge of border crisis. In 2024, Harris border confusion haunts her new campaign. Same publication, Axios. The Trump campaign and Republicans have tagged Harris repeatedly as the border czar, a title which she never actually had. They just think you're dumb. They treat you like you're dumb. And it's just getting underway. If you want to hear the raw audio, maybe you've heard it before. If you're just getting off work for lunch, Libertarian Lunchtime Hour in progress on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk. just don't believe me. Just listen to Joe. It's a little hard to hear because he's got a big fat mask on.
I've asked her, the VP, today, because she's the most qualified person to do it, to lead our efforts with Mexico and the Northern Triangle and the countries that help. We're going to need help in stemming the movement of so many folks stemming the migration to our southern border.
God, he sounds like crap there too, doesn't he? That's 3 years ago. So this is just getting underway, the gaslighting of the United States of America. They have to busily change the record. We are living through 1984. Have you read 1984 lately? I recently, about a year and a half ago or so, I picked up, I have a copy, a hard copy of George Orwell's Animal Farm in 1984. And, you know, they put both books in one hardbound edition. And I have a copy of that. And I picked it up and I read Animal Farm. And then I went ahead and read 1984. It is amazing. We are living through this level of doublespeak. And we're living through this. Don't believe what you see with your own eyes. Believe what we tell you to believe. And oh, by the way, if we change what we tell you to believe from yesterday till today, you'll change with us. Otherwise, you're an enemy of the state. Kamala Harris was always the problem. Now the media presents her as the solution. Now, you notice that none of this has anything to do with the color of her skin. None of this really has anything to do with the fact that she is, in fact, a woman, something that you're going to hear quite a bit over the next 4 months. I guess we can take a little bit of solace in the idea that liberals finally know what a woman is. For a long time, they didn't seem to understand what a woman was. For the longest time, they could not define what a woman was. Remember when Ketanji Brown Jackson, what is a woman? Marsha Blackburn asked her the question, what's a woman? I'm not a biologist. What do you think I am? A scientist? You think I'm some sort of rocket surgeon or brain scientist? They couldn't even, come on, man. In the spirit of the fact that we're not going to be doing it much longer, can I get a come on, man? Bell, you're going to give me a come on. Bell's not even listening. You're going to give me a come on? Give me a come on, man.
I don't have that on the board. I haven't had that on the board in months.
You haven't had come on, man?
No.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. Well, while you're on the mic, why don't we go ahead and do this before I forget about it? Come on, man. Anyway. So, it's Wednesday. It's July 24th. We got Cameron Smith coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. You on the phones until then, and always 615-737-9986. I mentioned it's episode 617 of our gathering on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. We gather in a number of different places. We're on the radio from Southern Kentucky to Northern Alabama and all points in between. Obviously, you can take us wherever you go. Just download us on a streaming application. Type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN, and off we go, and we appreciate that. Like and subscribe to us on the television side of things. Supertalk TV is up and running. I participate on a daily basis. Bell K refuses to, which is why we refer to him as Headless Bell, because you will not see him on the television side of things. He is wanted in at least 3 states, and I predict possibly more. At the same time, he does.
Internationally, too.
You say that, but I don't know that I believe it.
Whatever.
I don't know. That story was a little bit fantastical. I don't think he killed a guy. Anyway, so but you did title today's episode, and episode 617 is entitled
Matt Murphy, bringing you the newest episode of Mocha and the Cheeto. Libertarian lunch, noon to 3. Cheetos and Mocha.
What? What? I mean, I think it's in your job description that you're supposed to be a helper.
Cagney and Lacey.
Mocha and the Cheeto.
early 80s.
Kind of works. So that leads me directly into our conversation that we're about to have about DEI. Congressman Tim Burchett will be on with us tomorrow at 12:35. He was unable to come on today, obviously, because there is a joint session of Congress welcoming the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the United States of America. Benjamin Netanyahu will not be greeted by the Vice President of the United States of America, the President of the Senate, because she is far too busy campaigning. As a matter of fact, she is visiting with a sorority right now. So instead of visiting with a head of state that is actively engaged in a conflict against terrorists, one of the greatest allies that we have around the globe, their prime minister is coming to town, and Kamala, the candidate on the Democrat ledger for president of the United States, is too busy meeting with a sorority in order to meet with. Apparently, she can't be bothered with the joint session. We're told that she will meet with him later. Whether that happens or not remains to be seen. So we'll discuss that. We will, and Tim Burchett will be on with us tomorrow at 12:35. We'll talk about this idea of Kamala being the DEI president. And we'll also update you as to everything that Christopher Wray, the head of the FBI, had to say earlier today in a session of Congress trying to get answers about the assassination attempt against Donald Trump's life. Something that has been in a sea of news and information kind of pushed down a little bit in terms of its importance. It's the third or fourth headline nowadays. It ought to be right there at the top, because we still demand answers as to what happened Saturday last in Butler, Pennsylvania. Well, some of those answers were given today by Christopher Wray. We'll tell you about that next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The FBI director on Capitol Hill today with more insight on the Trump assassination attempt. And closer to home, an Antioch apartment complex is the scene of a murder suicide overnight. We'll have those stories at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Jay Harper. It is 26 minutes after the hour right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy. We're here till 3. Thank you for being with us. Libertarian lunchtime hour in progress. Grab your lunch pails, your lunch buckets, and gather around your radios and turn them up real loud and proud, and we'll get things underway, lumbering under our own weight. So, earlier today, Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, was somewhat more forthcoming than now former director of the Secret Service, Kimberly Cheeto, had been earlier in the week, Monday. He testified. I don't know if he's still testifying. I don't know what the action plan is. I think everyone took a break to go to the joint session with Benjamin Netanyahu, which is starting in about 30 minutes or so. One would anticipate that this would crank back up afterwards or perhaps tomorrow. Christopher Wray, the head of the FBI, testified regarding some of the details involving the assassination attempt of Donald Trump. According to Wray, Trump gunman Thomas Crooks searched for details about Lee Harvey Oswald and his assassination of President John F. Kennedy before he opened fire on the former president at the rally in Butler. According to Wray, speaking before a congressional hearing, he said, "We, just in the last couple of days, found from our review analysis of a laptop that the investigation ties to the shooter revealed that on July 6th, he did a Google search for how far away was Oswald from Kennedy?" Referring to Lee Harvey Oswald and John F. Kennedy on November 22nd, 1963. Answer to that question, and I'm not getting into a theoretical debate about what did or did not happen, but the answer to that question is the distance from the open window on the 6th floor of the book depository and Kennedy's motorcade when the shot was fired was about 88 yards. Obviously, the shot in question in Butler was longer than that. I've seen 130, I've seen 140 yards. Regardless, one was a non-moving target. The other was obviously a moving target. And so those are very different things. Wray told members of the House Judiciary Committee that Crooks operated a drone prior to the event in Butler, about 200 yards from the main stage from 3:50 to 4 o'clock on July 13th, roughly 2 hours before Trump began his speech to supporters at the Butler Farm Show grounds. So Crooks had more air support than apparently the Secret Service had, because the Secret Service reportedly had no air support. And now the FBI chief has said that the shooter in the Trump investigation he certainly got the gun from his father, but may have bought the gun from his father, and that's relatively new information to the process as well. Wray revealed that 3 relatively crude, his words, explosive devices, 2 of which were later seized from his car and another from his residence that were capable of remote detonation, were found after he was shot dead by Secret Service counter snipers. But that it did not appear that the 2 in the vehicle, that whether this was a mistake or not, we'll never know, but it does not appear that the 2 receivers in the vehicle had been turned on, so whatever transmission may have been attempted from the roof was not going to get to the receivers because the receivers were not on. So that's the basics of what we know from the testimony this morning. He said the on-off switch on the receiver held by Crooks did not appear to be working. If he tried to detonate the devices from the roof, it would not have worked, but that doesn't mean the explosives were not dangerous. He also testified, unlike his counterpart in the Secret Service, who is now resigned, he was willing to testify that 8 bullet cartridges were recovered from the roof where Crooks opened fire. He said the 20-year-old shooter was using encrypted messaging applications on his phone and on his laptop, and they're working to de-encrypt some of that. We did not have any information about the shooter, said the FBI director. He was not in our holdings before the shooting. Judiciary panel obviously comes one day after the resignation of the Secret Service director. Now, I would say this. Take everything that Christopher Wray says with a grain of salt. I do not trust the FBI. I'm on record as saying that the FBI should be broken down and rebuilt in a manner more consistent with doing the service to protect and serve the American people across the platform. I understand the need for a federal Bureau of Investigation. I think you need to rename it and restructure it because it has become corrupted through the deep state in Washington, D.C. Sadly, that is the case. That is not a reflection on men and women on the ground. That is not a reflection on some of the hardworking people that work for the FBI. There are many, many good people that work for the FBI. There are many bad people that work for the FBI, too. And sadly, in the upper echelons of the FBI, they have become corrupted to the point that the American people find it very difficult to trust what they have to say, including Christopher Wray. So I'm going to trust some of this. I'm going to verify some others of it, and we'll move on from there. It's 12:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon, 32 minutes past noon. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly cloudy, 82 degrees on Music Row, a weather forecast, and it's a wet one. It's coming your way in minutes. Today, as Matt has been discussing, FBI Director Christopher Wray giving a few more insights into the investigation of the assassination attempt against former President Trump. Wray telling the House Judiciary Committee the 20-year-old shooter had a drone at the rally venue in Butler, PA. Wray stressing to the panel that the investigation is still ongoing, but also said it appeared as if the drone was up in the air for about 11 minutes, roughly 200 yards away from the venue.
Around 3:50 p.m., 4 o'clock in that window on the day of the shooting, that the shooter was flying the drone around the area.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, Channel 4 reporting a husband shot and killed his wife at an Antioch apartment complex last evening. That's according to authorities. The shooting happening in the hallway of the Vintage Century apartment complex on Cane Ridge Parkway a little before 9 o'clock last night. Theodore Smith, 37, shooting his wife, 24-year-old Tatiana Smith, multiple times before turning the gun on himself. The couple had no domestic violence history with Metro Police. No other details have been released. And a short programming note, we will be airing President Biden's address from the Oval Office this evening at 7 o'clock. That will immediately follow The Drive with Brian Wilson. Again, that's tonight at 7 on Super Talk. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
When you're younger, you gravitate toward the cheapest option, oftentimes because of a lack of money or because you don't know any better. When it comes to food, there was a time in my life where I would just go to the easiest thing. And as I grow older, I gravitate to things that are more savory, things that are more delicious. And I have found the place to get those items that are going to up your food game in your pantry, up your food game when you're preparing it for family and friends. It is the one and only Savory Spice. There are two locations for you. One's in Nashville. You don't have to drive to Franklin, although, driving to Franklin's not so bad of a thing either. But there's one on L&L Market right off of Charlotte Pike. The other location's right off the square in Franklin. Holly and David run Savory Spice. They're great at what they do. And they have delicious spices for you. For the experienced chefs in the audience, you already know. I don't have to tell you where to go to get spices. to get the best of the best, you go to Savory Spice already. But for you newbies in the kitchen, they have ways to introduce you to the art of cooking that's fabulous, like their Spice and Easy products, where they get all the spices together for particular meals and recipes, and then all you have to do is buy the products there on the package, prepare the item, they tell you how long it takes, they tell you exactly what to do, and you've got a delicious meal for you and your family. That's what it's all about at Savory Spice, plus great gift ideas, and obviously we're in the midst of grilling season, and they've got a lot of different grilling options at Savory Spice. Go to Savory Spice. Once again, 2 locations, Franklin and Nashville. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only, and up your food game, up in your spice game, up your spice game, Savory Spice. Benjamin Netanyahu set to address a joint session of Congress next hour. We will carry any pertinent information involving that address or potentially carry portions of the address itself right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'd love to hear from you during the Libertarian Lunchtime Hour, 615-737-9986. Thank you to our good friends sponsoring us over on the Super Talk television side of things. U.S. Pest, good sponsor of the show. F&M Bank bringing you the chat room feature right now. Good to see. Is Lindsay back on the chat? I missed Lindsay for a second.
Yeah, she was there.
Okay. Loyal listener, Lindsay. Have we had any explanation why I was the only one excluded from this gift exchange from Lindsay?
I think that probably
speaks for itself.
Yeah, that we don't need an explanation for that.
I mean, did you see that?
Yeah.
So you got gifts.
Yeah.
What'd you get?
Thanks, Lindsay, by the way.
Yeah, you got a picture and
picture.
Yeah, and I did too, Matt.
Harper got a gift.
Yeah.
Jay, you got a gift.
Yeah.
From Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah.
Leroy, the cleaning guy, got a gift.
I'm not kidding. Harper got a gift.
Right,
Weaver got a gift. Bell got a gift. Dan got a gift. Johnny B got a gift. Han got a gift. No. We're not even scratch. Mason got a gift.
Mason.
Jeff Malinoff, a.k.a. KJB, got a gift. Brian Wilson got a gift.
Mac Morey got one. He don't even work here anymore.
Chris Weber. Everybody got something but me.
Did you meet her at the viewing of. Yeah, okay. I met her there as well.
I've seen Lindsay on several different occasions.
I would think you had. Yeah.
She hugged my neck on a couple. Maybe she's mad at me because here's what happened. Lindsay gets very excited. She's a loyal Super Talk listener, and we love all of you, every single one of you. But Lindsay comes out to these events, and the second time she did this, I stopped her. And maybe this is why, because she's mad at me. Because I was in the midst of a conversation with someone, and Lindsay, and I'm not making this up, just as we were talking, walked in front of the person I was talking to and gave me a hug. Like, completely interrupted the conversation. And I was like, well, hey, Lindsay, how's it going? Nice to see you again. And then the second time she did it, I told her she was being rude. So maybe that's why I didn't get it. You know? I said, yeah, hey, Lindsay, I was talking to this person. I don't mind it, but you're being rude to this person that I was talking to by doing what you're doing. So hold off, and we'll get to that in just a second. So maybe that's the reason. What'd you get, Harp?
It was a nice little glass figurine thing.
Oh, well, that's very sweet.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Put that in a prominent place in the Harper home. You know? Nice.
Oh, yeah.
1241. All right, let's deal with this DEI stuff. There is no question that Kamala Harris was a DEI hire. Now, what I'm confused about, I thought DEI was a good thing according to the political left. I thought DEI was a wonderful thing according to leftists generally. They have told us repeatedly that it's not racist in any way. By the way, hot tip, it's racist. Anytime you put someone in a position above someone else solely based on their race, that's racist. Right? If you consider no other merits but that, or if you consider all merits but you exclude someone based on the color of their skin and choose someone based on the color of their skin, you are engaging in a process that involves racism. It's not reverse racism. It's racist. Joe Biden declared on 2 separate occasions that he was planning to select very specific people in terms of gender and racial background to be a candidate for a position. One was his vice president. The other was a Supreme Court nominee. As we long discussed during the Biden administration here on this radio show, during the time that it happened, Ketanji Brown Jackson was selected above 94% of the population before we ever examined any bit of the record whatsoever. Biden declared he was selecting a black female. There's nothing wrong with selecting a black female. There are plenty of brilliant black females that would make fine Supreme Court justices. Ketanji Brown Jackson isn't one of them. I almost said Brown Simpson because of Nicole Brown Simpson. My bad. But understand, just doing the basic math, if you say I'm only picking a woman where you're excluding half the population, and now if you say you're only picking a black woman, well, you know, the black population is roughly 13% of the American population, and roughly half of that is about 6.5% of the population. So you're excluding roughly 93% of the population when you limit yourself to just those individuals. And that's all well and good, too. But let's just call what we're doing. That's a DEI process. Diversity, equity, inclusion. Naturally, if you're going to be inclusive to a certain group of people, you're going to be exclusive to a different group of people, and that exclusivity based on color of one's skin rolls against the concepts that we claim to believe in the United States of America, to judge one by the content of one's character as opposed to by the color of one's skin. Similarly, even before he did this with the Jackson nomination, he did so with Kamala Harris, saying that he wanted to pick a black female to be his running mate. And then those that he vetted came down to 4 individuals, and they were all black females. Joe Biden made it clear. At the time that he did it, we criticized the selection by saying Kamala Harris is a wholly unlikable person. You've picked someone that's even more unlikable than Hillary Clinton, and you did so because you pigeonholed yourself into only selecting a black female. I remember doing this as if it were yesterday. I'm elephantine about these things. Yet now the mainstream media wants to pretend like this is some sort of shock to them as a result of certain comments made yesterday by our good friend and Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett. Tim Burchett said the truth, that Kamala Harris was a DEI hire. Now, up until yesterday, I did not believe that we were supposed to look at these words as automatically a negative. According to the leftist that I have spoken with and heard from, the DEI process is perfectly legitimate, it's perfectly good, it is worthwhile, and it is important. Isn't that what we were told? How is calling someone a DEI hire demeaning in any way? I thought we celebrated the concept, lefties, don't we? There's nothing racist about pointing this out. I didn't bring the process up. Nobody that is criticizing DEI brought this to the table to begin with. The political left brought this to the table to begin with, friends. They're telling us that this is as important as anything else on the table when it comes to hiring practices of companies around the United States of America. And I suppose that includes hiring practices within the confines of the executive branch of the government. So now, suddenly, when we are pointing out the obvious, that Kamala Harris is not ready to ascend to the presidency, and I can point to any number of reasons why that's the case, suddenly the left is like, how dare you mention the truth? Because it becomes inconvenient for you? Well, the truth doesn't change just because you don't like it. And they're trying to change the truth when it comes to the manner in which Joe Biden made his selection as vice president or for vice president. And they're trying to change the idea that he personally selected her to be, quote, border czar. Now, border czar was a term that has been used since the time that he named her to designate what her role or job title might be with regard to the southern border. Associated Press, March of 2021. President Joe Biden has tapped Vice President Kamala Harris to lead the White House effort to tackle the migration challenges facing the administration. Flash forward to yesterday. Time magazine. Kamala Harris was never Biden's border czar. That's the headline. They're gaslighting you. They're gaslighting you. In the meantime, if you want to see some of the reporting or hear from some of the reporting regarding the DEI, and I'm going to get to the pivot in a minute because there's a pivot here because we need to address this and move on from it. There's way too many ways to criticize Kamala Harris, and there is a danger. There's a trap being set for all of us, and you need to be aware of it. But here is, what is his name? Manu Raju?
Yes.
Manu Raju on CNN?
Correct.
Listen to this.
To a Republican congressman, Tim Burchett of Tennessee, about the fact that they would be going up against...
Okay, I don't feel so bad about mispronouncing Manu Raju's name because he mispronounced Tim's name. So.
Burchett.
Burchett. It's Burchett.
Question to a Republican congressman, Tim Burchett of Tennessee, about the fact that they would be going up against someone who would be the first black South Asian woman who could be president of the United States. And
Black South Asian? Is that what we're going with now?
What that means for the Republican campaign.
Biden said, first off, he said he's going to hire a black female for vice president, and he just skipped over. What about white females? What about any other group? When you go down that route, you take mediocrity, and that's what they have right now as a vice president.
Are you suggesting she was a DEI hire?
100%. She was a.
So listen to this now. Did you notice something about what that exchange?
Yeah, it was Manu that brought up the word DEI.
It was Manu that brought up DEI. And Burchett agreed with him.
the other group. It just when you go down that route, you take mediocrity, and that's what they have right now as a vice president.
Are you suggesting she was a DEI hire?
100%. She was a DEI hire. He said he was going to hire, and she didn't.
Manu Raju smirks. If you watch this video, and I'm watching it right now, you can find it on my Twitter feed, at Matt Murphy Show. Look under at Matt Murphy Show. About 15 hours ago, I say Burchett is 100% correct. Biden announced it. And look at Manu Raju at about the 40-second mark or thereabouts.
It was a DEI hire?
Smirks. When he says, are you saying it was a DEI hire? And Burchett says 100%.
100%. She was a DEI hire. He said he was going to hire, and she didn't.
There is a smirk on his face.
Her record is abysmal at best.
We know that as a former prosecutor.
All right, so obviously a little bit of a setup by CNN, but Burchett is not incorrect. Your calls, your thoughts on this. I'm opening up the telephone lines. Would love to hear from you. 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWT. And you can also hit us up at the membersnutrition.com super text line. More from you in a moment. The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief, located in Franklin. Go and see them if you are in any sort of pain. You owe it to yourself. Friends, I did this. I'm not just a spokesperson. I'm also a client of the Dr. Gill Center, and these guys get it done, and they get it done the right way. They'll bring you in, and for less than $50, they're going to talk with you. First and foremost, you're going to sit down with Dr. Wendy or Dr. V or Dr. D or one of the other qualified chiropractic care physicians at the Dr. Gill Center, because it truly is a team approach. And they will speak to you about where it hurts, how long has it hurt, the nature of the pain that you're experiencing. It's all right there in front of you, the pain-free life that you could experience without having to pop pills and without the need for surgery. And certainly they don't want to continue. You know, if you are blocking pain through needles, you need to go see the Dr. Gill Center. Secondarily, they're good members of their community, and I would note that tomorrow you can experience the heart of community service at the grand opening of the new Hope Smiles Dental Center, which is pretty cool because Dr. Gill and his team of physicians, they love their community. They love what Hope Smiles is doing. This is a clinic founded by Dr. Philip Kemp, dedicating itself to serve those without access to quality dental care while mentoring the next generation of dental professionals. And Dr. Gill and his team said, hey, would you mind mentioning this open house during our time? And I was like, of course I will. From 4:30 to 7:30 tomorrow, Hope Smiles event right here in Nashville. And you can find more about that by going to Hope Smiles on Google or your DuckDuckGo machine. That's Hope Smiles, excellent dental care at affordable prices, and that's giving back. The Dr. Gill Center, they give back as well, and they give you a pain-free life. I encourage you to contact Dr. Gill today if you need any pain relief. They can offer it to you. Here's the telephone number to Dr. Gill, 615-882-4838, 882-4838.
Good afternoon. We are coming up on 1 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly cloudy, 82 degrees. Your weather forecast is coming up. Today, FBI Director Christopher Wray giving a few more insights into the investigation of the assassination attempt against former President Trump. Wray telling the House Judiciary Committee today the 20-year-old shooter had a drone at the rally venue in Butler, Pennsylvania. Wray stressing to the panel that the investigation is still going on, but said it appeared as if the drone was up in the air for about 11 minutes, about 200 yards away from the venue.
Time now that we are living in an elevated threat environment. And tragically, the Butler County assassination attempt is another example, a particularly heinous and very public one, of what I've been talking about.
And as we remain on Capitol Hill, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is about to speak. He literally is being introduced at the moment. He's about to speak before a joint meeting of Congress, but his visit is not without its controversy, as hundreds of pro-Palestinian protesters have already been demonstrating at the Capitol. ABC's Matt Gutman, he's in D.C., he says demonstrators aren't just at the Capitol. Thousands more are planning other types of demonstrations, and security around the area is very tight.
The event is being called Arrest Netanyahu, and there are multiple actions apart from where we are, where people are trying to sort of jump in the way of the motorcade at different locations to try to slow that motorcade as it makes its way towards the Capitol in the next coming hours.
And a quick programming note, we're going to be airing President Biden's address from the Oval Office this evening at 7 o'clock. That will immediately follow The Drive with Brian Wilson. Again, that's tonight at 7 on Super Talk. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy. U.S. Pest is the best when it comes to pest protection in your home. I guess protect your pets as well. Your pets have to deal with fleas. Your pets have to deal with ticks. Your pets deserve better. So U.S. Pest can help those pets as well, and your home too. Friends, it's as simple as this. You want to protect that thing that protects your family, and your house is that thing, right? And so these pests, whether they be roaches or other types of bugs or ticks or fleas or, termites are just insatiable. They want that house. They want to eat it. Literally, you need to protect yourself, and they have full-service pest control when it comes to stink bugs and ants, ladybugs, mice, silverfish, roaches, and so much more. A 100% money-back guarantee, and these are good folks who believe in this United States of America. They deal with common Tennessee pests like termites, spiders, ticks, fire ants. They also have termite prevention that you need to know about. Go to uspest.com to find out more. If you're unsatisfied with your current pest control company, or you don't have one, you need to contact U.S. Pest for a free inspection today. Free inspection at this number, 590-1260. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you, 615-590-1260, U.S. Pest. Here we are. Here we go. Hour number 2, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Moments away from it. And just a heads up, Bell, we might join the initial portions of the Benjamin Netanyahu speech in progress as it happens live. Benjamin Netanyahu is making his way down the aisle in the House of Representatives in a joint session of the United States Congress, a joint session that is not being joined by any number of Democrats. Many Democrats, I think the number was 12 separate Democrat senators. The Vice President of the United States of America, who presides as the President of the Senate, and many, like up to more than 50, actually. More than 50 Democrats on the left have decided not to attend this joint session of Congress. A slap in the face of one of our best friends in the Middle East, our best friend in the Middle East, one of our best friends around the globe, and that is the state of Israel, a state that was attacked viciously and brutally less than a year ago by a terrorist organization, and they have responded hard, as you might expect that they will. We still have 8 separate American hostages, by my count, in Israel being held by terrorists. When is the last time you heard Joe Biden say anything about that? When's the last time you heard Kamala Harris say anything about that? 8 American hostages, not to mention the numbers of other hostages from other parts of the globe, and obviously Israeli hostages in abundance. Okay, it's 7 after 1. Bell, let's jip a little bit of this. He has made his way to the well. Jip, join in progress. Benjamin Netanyahu has made his way to the well. We won't play all of this speech, but we'll want to join a little portion of the beginning of it. Let's go ahead. Waving to the assembled crowds in the gallery, waving to the assembled representatives. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, talking to Benjamin Netanyahu off mic briefly there. And Netanyahu is preparing to speak before the gathered elected officials and others in the audience after a robust level of applause based on the response given by Israel to the terrorist organizations responsible for the vicious, brutal attacks, killing thousands of people in October of last year. And obviously, it's an ongoing effort to get many of those hostages back. And the applause goes on. I'm going to just allow the applause to continue. It's just an incredible, robust reception by those assembled, those choosing to assemble the speech in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill.
Members of Congress, I now have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you His Excellency Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel.
And another robust round of applause, another standing ovation. Some standing, others sitting. Those Democrats that decided to be a part of this, some of them are sitting right now, as apparently they disagree with his presence before Congress. Once again, I mean, regardless of what you think about the reaction, the action was necessary as a consequence to the actions taken by Hamas and by extension now Hezbollah and Iran. Let's listen in.
Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, Senator Ben Cardin, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell.
Look who didn't get mentioned, by the way. She's not there.
Members of Congress, distinguished guests. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for giving me the profound honor of addressing this great citadel of democracy for the 4th time.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do.
We meet today.
Well, I'll let him talk for a second.
At a crossroads of history. Our world is in upheaval. In the Middle East, Iran's axis of terror confronts America, Israel, and our Arab friends. This is not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash between barbarism and civilization.
Fetterman, give it a little bit of applause.
Between those who glorify death and those who sanctify life.
All right, so what we'll do, and pull him down there, Bill. What we'll do, we'll continue to monitor Benjamin Netanyahu, who wanted you to give you an opportunity to hear the beginning of that speech. I don't want to belabor the point, but I mean, obviously, we understand the point of him being there to make the case for the Israeli government and the Israeli people that the ongoing strategy to attempt to completely and totally eradicate Hamas is a just one, is a humane one. It is sad that Hamas hides behind citizens. It is sad that they use the citizen population as human shields. It's sad that they put their organizational operations underneath hospitals and schools. It is sad that they do all of these things, making it increasingly difficult for the Israeli government, the Israeli military, the IDF, our American counterparts overseas. It is unfortunate that we can't get to those hostages and root those hostages out. But the bottom line is this. They're going to win. They have to win. If we allow the terrorists to win, it will come to our soil. And sadly, many in this country don't understand that. The protesters outside of the Capitol today, obviously they made inroads in so much as they were able at some point to block Benjamin Netanyahu's motorcade, we're told. It is fascinating times that we live in. Breaking news going on right now, and I get to some of you on the telephone calls. Kamala Harris is the heir apparent to Joe Biden. Joe Biden speaking tonight. You'll hear that live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Kamala Harris apparently has selected a running mate. That, according to sources close to the action, we are told that Kamala Harris has come close to a decision as to who she will be running with. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I'm getting information.
Minority gay woman.
No.
Oh, that was the safe bet, too.
So, yeah, the information I have is that she's still on governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, because she recognized that potentially will shore up Pennsylvania for her in her mind. That's the information that I'm getting. I don't know how accurate that is. Remains to be seen. Things can change on a moment's notice. But we are told that Josh Shapiro remains the number one choice for Kamala Harris. She did not vet. Kamala Harris, apparently her team is in the process of vetting potential vice presidential candidates, and they chose not to attempt to vet Kentucky Governor Andy Beshears, which goes to show you, I suppose, their thought process. They don't think they need middle America, I imagine. Maybe they don't believe that they can win Kentucky even with Andy Beshears as a part of the ticket. Maybe they don't believe that they need the Ohio folks and the Michigan folks and the Pennsylvania folks, the Rust Belt communities that maybe whose parents or grandparents were Democrats, but they feel like the Democrat Party has left them, as example, Kamala Harris herself and some of her radical policies as a United States Senator, some of her radical positions as a Vice President of the United States. One would think that you would want to moderate some of those radical positions with a more moderate vice presidential running mate. Looks like Josh Shapiro might be that guy, not Andy Beshears. If that be the case, what do you do with Michigan? Because I think you lose Michigan. There's too much of a radicalized pro-Palestinian base in Michigan. They're not voting for a Jewish guy. They're not voting for a Jewish guy. .3856 writes in and says, Matt, we love to hear you talk about anything and everything, but I think Benjamin Netanyahu's address to Congress is important enough for you to air the whole speech. Well, let's see what he has to say. I'm not against that.
I met Noah's mother, Leora, a few months ago. She was dying of cancer. She said to me, Prime Minister, I have one final wish. I wish to hug my daughter Noah one last time before I die. 2 months ago, I authorized a breathtaking commando rescue operation. Our special forces, including a heroic officer named Arnonz Mora, who fell in this battle, rescued Noah and 3 other hostages. Noah, I think it's one of the most moving things. When Noah was reunited with her mother, Leora, and her mother's last wish came true. Noah, we're so thrilled to have you with us today. Thank you. Many hostage families are also here with us today, including Eliyahu Bibas. Eliyahu Bibas is the grandfather of those 2 beautiful red-headed boys, the Bibas boys, toddlers. And they were taken hostage with their mother and and Eliyahu's son. The entire family was taken hostage. 2 beautiful red-haired children taken hostage. What monsters. And with us also is Iris Chaim, whose son Yotam bravely escaped Hamas captivity with 2 other Israelis, and tragically they were killed making their way back to our lines. We have with us also the families of American hostages. They're here.
All right, while I recognize the importance of this speech and I understand the importance of reminding us of what's going on in Israel and the fact that we still have hostages in place, at the same time, I don't know if we've got breaking news involved in this speech. So we're going to monitor that speech. I'm making that executive decision. Obviously, a couple of you expressed the desire to hear it, and I understand that. But at the same time, I've got to move forward with some of the breaking news action. So we'll monitor that. It's a judgment call on my part, but we'll monitor that and we'll continue delivering to you the pertinent information as it becomes available to us. 615-737-9986. When we return, Kamala is obviously the DEI presidential candidate. Don't believe me, believe Joe Biden. Don't believe Tim Burchett, believe Manu Raju, who brought it up initially. And it's amazing to me how the DEI process was looked at as a positive up until the point where Kamala Harris became the presumptive nominee, snatching away the Democrat process away from 15 million people. And now suddenly it's a bad thing. Or it's looked at as a negative if we bring it up. So you're allowed to bring it up. You're allowed to bring it up. You're allowed to bring it up, all you leftists, but I'm not allowed to bring it up or respond to it. I guess that's the way that it works. But I think we're falling into a trap, even talking about it at all, and I'll tell you what that trap is, in my opinion. It's 119 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
A Tennessee congressman introducing articles of impeachment against the vice president. And President Biden prepares to speak to the nation tonight from the Oval Office. We'll have those stories at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Coming up in about 7 minutes or so. Thank you much, Mr. Jay Harper. 615-737-9986. Your thoughts on all of the events going on right now. The latest, Christopher Wray testifies before the Judiciary Committee in the House of Representatives earlier today. That testimony has been suspended because of the joint session of Congress that's going on right now. Benjamin Netanyahu currently addressing Congress. Vice President Kamala Harris is not there. She decided to skip the speech, indicating strongly where she is regarding Israel and Hamas. But she needs to go further on record as to exactly where she is. She's on record on a lot of these issues, and she is as left as they come. One could argue that even including former President Barack Obama, that this is the most radical leftist candidate for president of the United States of America in our history, none of which has anything to do with her color, none of which has anything to do with her sex. Obviously, Tim Burchett is right in agreeing with Manu Raju, who first brought it up, that Kamala Harris was a DEI selection for vice president. Joe Biden said as much. And you don't have to believe me. Believe Joe. He literally said it. Flashback. Joe Biden. This is a transcript from whitehouse.gov. Listen closely. This is Joe Biden speaking. To me, the values of diversity, equality, inclusion are literally, and this is not kidding, the core strengths of America. That's why I'm proud to have the most diverse administration in history that taps into the full talents of our country, and it starts at the top with the vice president. Bell, sometimes I lean on you. Maybe I shouldn't.
Know it's usually after one too many, but go ahead.
Sometimes I lean on you to make sure that I'm not out in left field somewhere. The President of the United States said this. I'm going to repeat it. To me, the values of diversity, equality, I think it's the diversity, equity, buddy, but come on, man. Come on, man. The values of diversity, equality, inclusion are literally, and this is not kidding, the core strengths of America. That's why I'm proud to have the most diverse administration in history that taps into the full talents of our country, and it starts at the top with the vice president. Is that not Joe Biden saying that she was a DEI selection?
I'll have to defer to Joe. I'm sorry. It sounds like it to me, but he's denying it.
And then Manu Raju brings it up, and then suddenly now they're using race as a bludgeon. And here's where I would say the trap is. I have no less than 20 audio clips with Kamala Harris stating her position on a variety of different issues. We can talk about her desire to defund the police. That's real. We can talk about her desire to continue to see some of the riots in our city streets, in our major metropolitan areas in the summer of 2020 continue. She actually said to Stephen Colbert in the summer of 2020, we want this to continue up until the election and beyond. She was a central figure in raising money to bail these criminals and thugs out of jail so that they could go and commit crimes again. Obviously, her stated position on illegal alien activity is well known, but I'll just repeat it for you for those that need it. She believes in open borders. She is on the record as a candidate for president of the United States of America in 2019 that she wants Obamacare for illegal aliens. She raised her hand to say that she wanted Obamacare for illegal aliens. Government-funded taxpayer health care for illegal aliens in the United States of America. She is not a supporter of Israel on the foreign policy front. All in on Ukraine on the foreign policy front. And on and on and on it goes. And as woke as they come with regard to domestic side issues. All of those issues need to be front and center to make the public aware of who Kamala Harris is and what she stands for. We are falling. I don't say falling because I don't begrudge anyone from any topic of their own choosing with regard to how they deal with the presidential contest, whether you're a talk show host or Joe Citizen listening to a variety of different platforms and different sources. But to discuss DEI at length, I said to Chris Hand that I have to be the lifeguard of the pool. I'm not a very good lifeguard of the pool. I said this to Bella as well. I don't mean to be the lifeguard. Everybody's having a good time at the pool. Everybody's making Willie Brown jokes, and they're funny. Ha, ha, ha. I've made them too. I'm guilty too. Everybody's having a good time with Willie Brown and the jokes about Willie Brown and how Kamala Harris got into her position. I'll pause while you make your joke. How did Kamala get into her position? Yeah, make the joke. That's fine. And it's all well and good to note that but for her color and but for her sex, Joe Biden on record stated that he would not have considered her for vice president. But that's the game that the political left wants to play, and you've got to understand that. They want to pull down from the shelf. Well, they never really put it on the shelf. It's on the desk. They want to pull from the corner of the desk the old racism playbook, and they want to use that from now until Election Day. They want the hashtag never CNNs of the world. I'll watch so you don't have to. MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC. They want to suggest that any and all criticism against Kamala Harris is because of her race. Any and all criticism against Kamala Harris is because of her sex. And they will use discussions like DEI and like Willie Brown as examples of how this is so. It isn't so. We need to move beyond it. I don't pretend that it's not a matter of conversation right now, but we need to make it a matter of past conversation as soon as possible, and we need to get to the real matter that bothers me greatly about this candidate, and it has nothing to do with the sex, her sex. It has nothing to do with the color of her skin. It has everything to do with how liberal statist she truly is. How she wants to, as Obama said so many years ago, fundamentally transform this country into one of centralized government where you have less and less control over your daily life, over your wallet, over your daily activities, over what you can and cannot do. Those are the real issues involving this campaign. Pocketbook issues, inflationary issues, domestic side policy, energy production, southern border security. All of that matters. All of that matters. We have seen a dramatic shift on the part of the political left and their minions in the propaganda wing of the Democrat Party, which is the mainstream media. And that shift involves and surrounds race and sex. That's where they want this debate to happen. And we need to be smarter than that. So the jokes are all well and good, and the DEI situation is a fact. We need to move beyond it and talk about policy positions, and she is so well on record. She wanted to abolish immigration and customs enforcement. Did you know that? Can you hear me out there? Man, I'm loud. I was talking to Cameron Smith. He's here early. He couldn't wait. He's missed me. You've missed me, haven't you? It's been like a month. We'll get to Cameron early in a moment. We'll get to Jay Harper right now, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon, 31 minutes past 1 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly cloudy, 82 degrees. A full forecast is on the way. Tennessee's 5th District Congressman Andy Ogles, he's officially filed articles of impeachment against Vice President Kamala Harris, claiming she covered up President Biden's physical and cognitive well-being and also failure to secure the southern border.
Now, what happens after this is anybody's guess, but this is a tough conversation, but it's a conversation we must have.
Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, he was impeached in the House over immigration policy back in February. The articles, however, were dismissed by the Democratic-leaning Senate. Tonight, President Biden will make an address in the Oval Office in prime time to detail what led him to step aside in this year's presidential election. We have more on that from ABC's Selena Wang.
Biden returned to the White House yesterday after isolating with COVID in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, for more than 5 days. His doctor says he no longer has symptoms and that he's tested negative for COVID. A source close to the president tells me that yesterday he started working on that speech already in isolation for the past day. Then he returned to the White House and huddled with his speechwriters.
We will be airing that address from the Oval Office this evening at 7 o'clock. It immediately follows The Drive with Brian Wilson. Again, that's tonight at 7 on Super Talk. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Storms, so not everyone will get soaked, but everyone needs to be ready for rainfall, and the temperature will just hang out. We recently completed the second annual Rudy Kalis Golf Classic out at Hermitage Golf Course. I was out there just a couple of days ago celebrating Men of Valor and the wonderful organization that it is. A couple of points about Men of Valor that were made on Monday that I want to reiterate. Number one, well over 90% of men in prison are going to get out of prison. That is a fact. Over 90% of men in prison are going to get out of prison. How do you want those men to be from a mental state of mind when they get out of prison? Because sadly, it is a statistical fact that over 50% of those men in the state of Tennessee will go back to prison. Sadly, recidivism is just that high. Did you know that Men of Valor, if you see a man walk into the Men of Valor program, their graduates, fewer than 10% ever see a prison cell again. It is because of the power of God Almighty and the power of hope. Men of Valor needs volunteers in their prisons. Men of Valor needs volunteers on their campus. Men of Valor needs you. They need partners. They need Bible study teachers. They need mentors that discipline men in their everyday lives. We need to invest in this, folks. It is vital for the future of the United States of America that we reduce the recidivism rate and that we show, sadly, men who have lost all hope that there is hope for their future to be productive members of society. I believe in this organization, and I'm going to be talking about them for years to come, and I hope that you take it upon yourself to volunteer or to give as you can. Go to men-of-valor.org. That's men-of-valor.org to find out more today. And please tell them that Matt Murphy sent you to Men of Valor. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy. We host a gathering together Monday through Friday from noon until 3. And a collection of individuals got together in a big room somewhere, and they decided to call it the Matt Murphy Show, and I'm happy about that. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, it's 1:39.
Hey, Matt.
It is a gush of information. Bell K interrupts for this reason.
I've just seen a tweet by Andrew Solander, who is a reporter for Axios, and he is saying, this goes back to what you were talking about before about the Democrats in Israel, roughly 100 of the 212 House Democrats and 27 of the 51 Senate Democrats are in the chamber for Netanyahu's speech. So 112 of their House representatives walked out, and 32 or 34 of the senators did?
A good portion, yes.
Yeah. Aren't there.
When Senator John Fetterman has become the voice of reason.
And where's the suit?
He wore a suit, man.
Hey, there's Cameron Smith. Cameron's here. Yay!
And the crowd goes wild.
No. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that for him.
Oh, dear.
You don't show up last week. You just don't bother.
Yeah, it got away from me.
The week before that, what do? You don't show up for me. You show up for, well, I guess my show.
Yeah.
You know what you do?
I haven't seen you in forever.
Stop paying him. Just stop paying him.
Was it 2?
It was 2 weeks ago.
It was not last week. No,
it's 3.
It's 3 weeks ago.
That we had the long show, the longest radio segment I've ever done in my life. It was 5.5.
This is incredible. Oh, that's right. No. That was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's been 3 weeks since you and I have spoken, I think. Think about what's happened.
Yeah, a lot happens. Lots going on.
Life comes. I've got one of my favorite, I've got a lot of weird.
Well, wait. Did you know that Joe Biden was not capable of running for president?
Apparently, this is new news.
What?
This is new news. So my favorite thing that I have in my office, I'll take a picture of this and put it up on my social media. And I got a lot of favorite things in my office because I collect crap and just put them up. It is a photograph that I saw at an art show. Had to have it, met the artist. He told me how he got it. But it is a shot going down a train track line. So you see the rail line and you see like real close up, and it's like a perspective shot of going down the rail line. And way in the distance, out of focus, is a train coming. And there's a caterpillar on the train track. And the title of the photograph is "Life Comes at You Fast." And I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And I love the backstory. He told me how he got it, that he had to make friends with gardeners. And so he had to go into their gardens and find big juicy worms, and he had like red ones and green ones. And so he had to figure out when the train came. I mean, the backstory of how he got the shot and set up the camera and all is pretty cool too. But life comes at you fast. And I bet Joe Biden feels like that caterpillar right now.
There was a sighting today.
Apparently.
That he got out. I saw him get out of the beast and kind of look around. And at some point, somebody's got to tell him he's not in the race anymore.
Do you think do you think that, I don't think the percentage chance of him resigning tonight is 0.
I don't either.
I don't think it's
low, because if we were
low, but I don't think it's 0.
If we were 6 months from the election, maybe. But the fact that we're pretty tight, I mean, I think he can say, I got this for.
I would put it a little bit higher if I had Kamala at the White House tonight.
Yeah, well, here's the problem.
But she's not.
If he resigns, she's sworn in as president. She's got to spend all that time
being president.
And so she's probably saying, guys, no. Do not let him resign. I got to run a campaign now. And so I think the chances are almost 0. Almost. But she has no track record to run on right now. Tell me that.
Well, she's got something.
No. I know the immigration thing. Tell me one other initiative during Biden's term in office that she's spearheaded.
There's none.
Right, because she failed miserably. They're trying to reimagine that she wasn't appointed the border czar. That's the new thing.
Well, no, that's a big thing, right? And and if you're on social media platforms, if you go to mine, you'll see this. I'm sure Cameron's doing the same thing, right? You'll see the side-by-sides. It's like they don't think we have memories or computers, right? The side-by-side of, for example, Axios. The same writer who said Biden taps Kamala Harris as his the head of, the project. They didn't say border czar. They said something similar.
Right.
And they're now saying, well, he never tapped her as a border czar. Like, they're playing this game with the nomenclature. Like, well, czar is not a thing. That's what we all know what happened. We were there when it happened. We all saw it.
Yeah. Well, and I don't mind eating crow when I have to eat crow. And this is one of the things that I've always said, well, we have talk radio. We have, certain right of center outlets that we have the conversations we have on, right? The conservatives do. Well, I did not realize the degree to which the left still controlled we'll call it the mainstream media narrative, until we got in this situation where literally the casual observer on Twitter was saying, hey guys, Joe Biden's not okay. It's not just some gaffes like he usually did. This is different. And the rest of the media said, no, he's fine. That's a cheap fake. That's all. You're making that up. And then they acted all surprised. And then once it was deemed okay to pivot, then they bludgeoned him to death.
Well, and you and I saw it, and my perception of this, I want to make sure that it's yours, on the debate night, June 27th at Hop Springs in Murfreesboro. We all got together as a huge crowd. It was great. We had a good time. And even amongst the college football atmosphere of that crowd, which was a little bit difficult to hear the nuance and to hear the subtlety of the thing, it was, I think, 5 minutes into it. You were standing beside me, and you looked at me, and you said, he's toast.
Yeah.
And I said, absolutely.
Yeah.
5 minutes in.
We just knew it.
This is as bad as it gets. They can't cover for him anymore. But now, the manner in which they treat us, and I always say that the things we've got going for us are liberals think you're dumb, and they always overplay their hand. And now they think you're dumb, and they think you won't remember that they defended this guy up until the last minute, and they won't remember that they called it cheap fakes, and you won't remember all of the disastrous things that he did as president with the blessing and support of Kamala Harris. Now it's the grand reset.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris is great, man.
You don't really.
What are
you don't know that?
About?
That's common knowledge.
If you don't know Kamala Harris is great, you are what?
A racist.
A racist. That's right.
And this is a shocking thing to me. And I think the American people are actually wising up, because whatever you think of Trump, the media has put everything he did on blast. So every exaggeration, every lie, everything has been scrutinized and bludgeoned. They've been bludgeoning him since he got in the race, right? And I'm talking about back in 2016. I'm not talking about, what we have now, but they've been doing this to him for a long time. So the American people feel like they're getting a straight shot of Trump. They may not like him, but he is what he is. Right now, they're feeling like, wait a minute, y'all lied to us about Joe Biden. You being the sort of mainstream media, you lied about it. You had reason to know, and you ignored it, and then you pitched that on us. Those are the same people that are pitching Harris as it's the rescuer of democracy. You don't understand. She's coming to save, the republic, really. And that's the piece I wrote over in the Tennessean was, if this is the best they've got, then they're not serious about protecting the democracy.
Well, but they can't skip her. I mean, right. One of the reasons I think the left is so annoyed by Burchett agreeing with Manu Raju of CNN that it was a DEI. I mean, you don't have to agree with him. Agree with Joe Biden. Joe Biden said, I believe in DEI, and my vice president is the best example of it. So the reason they get their panties in a knot about all of that is it identifies the failure of Joe Biden in his selection process. That's what has made all of this so difficult for them. I think it's the reason Joe Biden ran to begin with, is because they can't hand the reins to Kamala Harris because she's so wholly unlikable. And it has nothing to do with her race. It has nothing to do with her upbringing. It has nothing to do with her sex. It has everything to do with her character.
Yeah, well, and just she's a bad politician.
Yeah.
Like, that's not any sort of racial
You know who was bad
commentary.
politician? Can I give you, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Sure.
Jeb Bush.
Yeah.
Completely different human being.
Please clap.
Horrible politician.
Yeah.
Entirely unlikable as a politician. Please clap.
Yes, please clap, please.
This is what Paul Ferry with the, or I might be mispronouncing his name, but I'm going to call him Ferry just because it pleases the 13-year-old boy inside of me. Paul Ferry of the Washington Post writes, a good and obvious point by Oliver Darcy of CNN. If the media was truly in the tank for Biden, as conservatives have insisted, how do we explain the avalanche of negative coverage and commentary after June 27th that helped drive him from the race? And I'm going to let you respond. My response was that June 27th exposed the media bias.
Bingo.
It revealed the media bias, and they knew it, and they knew that the gig was up when June 27th happened. So this suggestion that, well, the negative bias has gotten him out of the race, because only then did they flee from what they clearly saw as a sinking ship and recognize we better grab onto some lifeboat somewhere. Otherwise, this is going down in flames.
Yeah, and it did. And it absolutely did. And then that's what I said. We saw the pivot. They held off after the debate. There was that wasn't great. Van Jones was very upset. It was like, that wasn't great. But then we started looking at, okay, well, Biden kept trying to win people back, and it just got worse, right? It just got worse and worse. And then at that point, there was a pivot, and they were like, let's bludgeon this guy to death. Let's put him down. And they did. And that's where we are right now. And so to act like they're honest brokers, they're just not. And, and I get that. I mean, we have biases all over the place. And that's one of the things that I've attacked is don't buy people who are saying we're neutral. Like you and I, we're not neutral. We have a perspective. We're very open about that, very open about why we have that perspective. But the folks, particularly like a CNN, that's like, well, we're trying to be very objective here. Are you though? Are you?
See, it's it's one of the reasons that I identify CNN as the garbage network and garbage people that they are. I don't fault a shark for being a shark.
Yep.
And MSNBC, they present the news from a leftist perspective, and they don't really shy away from that.
Fox News, right. It's easy.
Fox News presents the news from a right perspective, and they don't shy away from that. CNN consistently lies about what they do. And, oh, no, and they know different, but they do it anyway. And I know that they know different because I've told them. I sat with an executive producer in 2017 when they were covering the Doug Jones-Roy Moore thing with the Washington Post and the scandal about the Gadsden Mall and all of that. And these folks came down, and Andrea Lindenberg, my partner at the time, who you know well, she and I were getting hammered for going on CNN because we were asked to go on to give commentary about the Senate race, and we did. And we told this executive producer, they came in one day to do it in studio, and we're like, we're just getting destroyed from our listening audience for even entertaining you guys. And they're like, what? Why? What do you mean? And I was like, well, you're left. What? I mean, they were just shocked and dismayed. I was like, do you actually talk to the people that you go and interview? Do you actually listen to what they have to say in Alabama or in Missouri or in Nebraska or in corners of Idaho and other parts of the United States? They don't.
It's like bugs in a little jar.
They just, look at them.
Look at that. That one lights up. That one's butt lights up. That's neat. I mean, that's how it happens.
Oh, that one's got. One's got a gun.
I do have a. Yeah, I don't know how we're doing on time, but I do know that I have a story about a conversation I had with a reporter about this and about journalistic codes of ethics that was just illuminating.
Well, let's talk about it in a second. It's 1:52. You're very astute on the time factor. Bob, hang in there. You've been holding a minute. I'm going to get to you. I'm going to get to Gracie as well. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Great conversation ongoing. We're also monitoring the comments by Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, addressing a joint session of Congress. We'll continue to discuss all of these things and get Cameron's breakdown on what happened Saturday before last and what we expect to happen with regard to vice presidential pick. There's so much to get to on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy, and all month long in July, our friends at Craft Body Scan. They're offering a couple's heart and lung scan for just $149. It's pretty good, folks. These couples' heart and lung scans are valued at well in excess of $2,000, actually over $2,500. A huge savings for anyone looking for a simple, non-invasive way to check their heart and lungs. So I did the full body scan, and I would encourage you to do that. The $149 special is for the heart and the lungs, but when you sit down for your consultation, you can ask about the full body scan as well. I've heard stories about lives saved by CT scans because they get to the root of an issue even before you actually feel symptoms. And that's what it's all about, right? I have become, over the years, a little bit of a hypochondriac. You know, I feel a pain in my calf, and I feel like my heart's going to explode. And so to deal with that, I went to Craft Body Scan, and I left with peace of mind. You will too. Non-invasive. You don't have to take your clothes off. You know, get your keys out of your pocket and off you go. And this month, I want you to take a proactive step toward better health. Book your couple's heart and lung scan today for $149 at togetherwescan.com. Togetherwescan.com or 615-436-1000. 436-1000.
Good afternoon. It is 2 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly cloudy and 82 degrees. A full weather forecast is just minutes away. Well, there's new information in the FBI probe into the attempt on the life of former President Trump. The details were aired today at a hearing of the House Judiciary Committee. ABC's Stephen Portnoy reports.
The FBI says the same day he registered to attend the Trump rally, would-be assassin Thomas Crooks Googled the distance from which Lee Harvey Oswald fired at John F. Kennedy. And on that same day, a week before the shooting, Crooks spent about 20 minutes at the Butler, PA event site. FBI Director Christopher Wray tells lawmakers that agents are having trouble pinpointing a specific motive for the attack on Trump, in part because Crooks used encrypted messaging apps.
Some of them we may never get access to because of the encryption issue.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at this very moment is speaking before a joint session of Congress in Washington, D.C. There have been some tense protests ahead of his visit. ABC's Matt Gutman is on the scene.
Protesters demand to get through this line of police officers on bikes. They went right up to the front, began pushing. Then some projectiles were thrown, more like water bottles. And then police opened up with pepper spray, and there was this fisticuffs.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, a shooting this morning outside a Portland, Tennessee gymnasium sent one person to the hospital and sparked a search effort in another state for the suspect. This comes after a News 2 crew spotted two crime scenes in the same shopping center off of Highway 109 near South Broadway in Portland. One scene was set up at the Planet Fitness, while the other was at the Sonic. According to the Portland Police Department, the shooting took place this morning in front of Planet Fitness. The victim was taken to the hospital. No word on their condition. Meanwhile, the suspect reportedly took off. However, authorities said the suspect was identified and found at a location across the border in Kentucky and appears to have taken his own life. This is a developing story. No other information released at this time. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy, and Defense Systems is on my mind. What a great organization. What a great event they had just last week in connection with TBI, helping you feel safer and more secure in your place of business, your school, your church, or anywhere that you gather that other people gather as well. If you don't know, Defense Systems is a life safety and security consultation firm. They're based right here in Middle Tennessee, created by Brink Fiddler, using his decades of experience in the police department, decades of experience fortifying and securing places where people gather for business or for fellowship or for fun, whatever you're gathering to do, you need to do it with Defense Systems on your team. They do active shooter response training, workplace violence prevention, emergency and intruder action plans, all customized to your facility. You need them in your life. Here's what I'd like to say. The possibility of you engaging in a shooter situation is minuscule. It's very low. It's not zero, though, and that's the point. Hope is not a plan. It is time to get trained with Defend Systems. 615-236-6484. 236-6484 for Defend Systems. I've long said an absence of information leads to speculation, and that's what we're dealing with when it comes to the assassination attempt on the life of Donald J. Trump from 2 Saturdays ago. We're going to discuss that this hour. Benjamin Netanyahu is just finishing up an address to a joint session of Congress for those who decided or bothered to attend. Many Democrats did not, including the Vice President of the United States of America, who would be the President of the Senate. We'll talk about that this hour as well. Don't give the Democrats a gift. We began that conversation last hour because remember, what are the Murphy rules for Democrats? Murphy's rules for Democrats. Number 1, they think you're dumb. Number 2, they always overplay their hand because of number 1, because they think you're dumb and you'll fall for it. And they're doing that right now with Kamala Harris and the Grand Reset. We'll discuss all of these things with our good friend and colleague, Cameron Smith of the Tennessean and of Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello,
yeah, man. We're everywhere.
Come on. Hey, well, do you have the headline handy that you on the article you read? I love this headline. Here, I tell you what. Look that headline up. Bob's been holding for a long time. I want to talk to Bob with Cameron Smith and myself. Normally, I do not start an hour with a telephone call, but Bob, you've been holding for so long patiently to offer your opinion about Kamala Harris. Hello, Bob.
Hey, Matt. Hope you guys are doing well. This is more of a comment, not trying to sound like an op-ed, but her irresponsibility to attend this historically black Zeta Phi Beta sorority Grand Boulé event is pretty much the equivalent of spending your paycheck on lottery tickets instead of your mortgage when it comes to national security. It's kind of proof that her strategy to appeal to her voter base is personality and popularity over policy protection and future national security pragmatism in terms of what's good for the United States. And to parody her, as a nation, we will be burdened by what has not been done by her in such situations with our allies if she's elected president. And the liberal voter she appeals to seem to have a case of what I call cumulative dissonance. They're not concerned about anything with her policies or character or past failures, but will vote for her on superficial campaign points and promises that are just as superficial as their Instagram selfies. So that's my comment for today.
All right, so 2 things to point out, and I'll let Cameron join in on this as well, Bob. Number 1, I think Kamala has been told that she needs to shore up the youth movement post-haste. They believe that for some reason that she can appeal to younger voters. I think that she feels like if she squeezes the balloon any such a way to try to appeal to Jewish America, she's going to pop the balloon on the other side of it with Muslim America, a vote that they are a pro-Palestinian or pro-Hamas America, a vote that they very much need in certain parts of the country. I also think that if some of the reports that I'm seeing are accurate, they feel strongly that they can shore some of that up with her vice presidential selection, which we're told is leaning toward Josh Shapiro, who is a Jewish governor of the state of Pennsylvania, which they think will fill a couple of boxes. It will take care of Pennsylvania for them. That's their thought process. It will perhaps shore up support amongst the Jewish Democrats that are wavering a little bit, especially considering the Israeli-Hamas conflict. So I don't think you'll see Kamala Harris trying to repair that rift between Jewish Democrats and the current leadership within the Democrat Party. I think she'll leave that to her vice president.
I agree with that. It's just it's interesting to watch things go down as they go down, and no pun intended with Kamala. So,
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people don't know this, but do you know where the largest Jewish population concentration of Jewish people is outside of Israel?
I mean, I would guess New York. But
New York.
Okay.
That's the answer.
All right.
And so for Democrats, you've got a lot of Democratic Jewish voters who are sort of saying, wait a minute, this we're starting to get some of our own party that's anti-Semitic. And they can pretty clearly identify that right now. It's not close. And I think Harris absolutely has to do what she can to address that rift, because I think if she has a revolt from Jewish Democrats, it hurts her on a number of levels, and they've been solidly in the fold for Democrats, and they've got to figure that out quickly. Got to figure that out, because right now it is a horrible look for the Democratic Party to be like, we're sort of with Israel.
And one of the reasons that I don't get the heartburn with some of the protests that happened outside of the Capitol today, when they try to tell you clearly who they are, let them do it.
Yeah,
just let them do it, because they're identifying who they are today outside of the Capitol. Bob, final word?
No, I just appreciate everything you guys do and enjoy listening to you while I'm shopping. Thanks for everything, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Bob. Bob held a long time, and I appreciate his patience. It's 2:11. Cameron Smith writes for the Tennessean, as is often mentioned, as he comes in once a week for us or during his time filling in for the various hosts. You've written a piece on this Kamala Harris decision. I mean, to hell with democracy. Let's get somebody in there that we think can win. What's the headline there, Cameron?
The headline's Kamala Harris is the best Democrats can do. Looks like they don't want to beat Trump. And so I hammered him with it. I said, and I'll just quote, this is the easiest way. I said, just assume all the things that y'all have said, this to the Democrats, about Trump are true. Let's stipulate that he's a liar, criminal, aspiring authoritarian, that he wants to terminate the Constitution and the whole republic. Whatever you want, pick your language about how bad Trump is. Mm-hmm. That's been Democrats' bread and butter campaign stuff. And if you really want to beat him, you really think Harris is the way to go? That, like, of all the options you have on the table, that she's the one who's failed on policy, failed on politics, not popular. You can just look at the approval ratings, lower approval ratings than Joe Biden for his presidency, and she's your savior?
So come on. And this is why I believe, and I'm not, I call myself the lifeguard at the pool. Everybody's having fun at the pool. They're running around the pool. Stop running around the pool. Right. No doing that in the deep end, no cannonballs. And I understand everybody is discussing DEI. Yes, DEI, I know all of that. And I know we're having fun with how Kamala ascended the political ladder in California. I get all of that. I think we need to get that out of our system and move forward because of exactly what you're saying. Let me give you just a few examples that I wrote down on a note on my phone last night. And this is just from doing baseline research over Kamala Harris's time in the Senate as vice president. She co-sponsored legislation to protect illegal aliens from deportation. She was a backer of Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All. She backed banning all private health insurance. She supported taxpayer-funded coverage to illegal aliens for Obamacare. She supported a complete banning of fracking. That's energy policy. She supported defunding the police, and included in that, obviously, is her raising money for the bail of individuals that were committing riotous activity around the country. She compared ICE to the Klan. She defended banning offshore drilling, supported decriminalizing illegal border crossings, said that illegal aliens were not criminals, nor should they be treated as such, argued that closing the border violated federal law, and finally, she wanted to initiate a nationwide ban on plastic straws.
That's all you got?
No, because she covered up Joe Biden's lack of capacity or wasn't engaged at all. There's only two options there.
So how, if you're the media, do you just ignore that? I mean, I asked this question on social media last night, too, at Matt Murphy's show. And if you want to find Cameron Smith, it's very difficult because he puts a D in front of his name and nobody knows his first name is David. Anyway, I'll never let it go. Anyway, I asked the question last night. How is the first or one of the first questions in one of the first sit-down interviews that I would imagine she's going to do with these drooling sycophants in the media? When did you know Joe Biden was not capable of running for the presidency? When did you recognize that he had gotten to the point where his viability as a candidate was such that you were going to have to take over?
Oh, comrade, you don't understand how the party works. We do not ask those questions in the party. This is where we are. I mean, this is where she is by any stretch, a radical leftist. And again, this was my point. You need a centrist. You need a moderate centrist who's not crazy, could beat Trump, right? You picked the farthest left candidate you could have. And why? Because we're not going to go through a track record. We're not going to talk about all this stuff because we do play demographic identity politics. And for a white president, white older male president to not immediately endorse his vice president and rally the party apparatus around her would be against their own party rules. And so that's where we find ourselves, even though she's clearly not the best candidate to run against Trump. And this is my point, is they say they're so serious about defending democracy, except for the part about actually tactically trying to beat Trump.
Joe Biden, and we know that the Democrat Party is full of lies, but Joe Biden said, first he said, I'm running no matter what. Then after the disastrous debate, he said, well, the only way I would not run is if God Almighty told me that I shouldn't.
Yeah.
And then that translated into a third interview in which he said, if there was a major health concern, I would consider it. And now he has withdrawn his name from consideration. We haven't seen him except for one or two brief glimpses in the last 7 days since a COVID diagnosis. What do you expect him to say tonight?
He's going to basically deliver a
is it a goodbye letter?
A recharacterization of history.
Mm-hmm.
He'll defend his record.
Sure.
And he will, because it's being put in front of him right now, trust me, that they're putting forth, Joe, this is your legacy.
Right.
We're telling you all the great things you did. And so here's what we have accomplished together during my term in office. He's objectively a bad president, but you can't say that. So it's going to be, now it's my turn.
His signature piece of legislation is the Inflation Reduction Act. I mean, do it.
Yeah.
Just
wait.
I'm just gonna give. Normally this is something you would not want to do on radio. I'm just gonna give everybody 10 seconds to think about this after I say it again. His signature piece of legislation is the Inflation Reduction Act. Everybody think. How much are eggs? Right?
Right.
I mean, it's stupid. It's just stupid. But anyway, toward your point, they'll revise that. Will he go there when it comes to why? I mean, doesn't he have to?
Well, why
he's not running?
So my suggestion, I always try to think like what I would advise them to do.
Like you're a Democrat operative.
Yes, I'm a Democratic operative. I say, look, Joe, this is your opportunity to defend your record and go out with a bang. But here's what we need to do. You need to take Trump with you. And you need to say, I realize that I'm too old. And you know what? I realized that my opponent was too old too. And that some of the things he said didn't make sense to me. And
That's good.
I would just double down on that. Like
I'm watching him and he's making no sense. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe it's me too.
Is that what people think of me?
Right.
And I don't want to put myself in front of America's best interest like Donald Trump. I don't want to be that guy. I'm not that guy. I'm Joe Biden.
Oh,
I'm the kid from Scranton.
Joe.
And so
Lunch Bucket Joe.
So you defend your record, defend your legacy, hand off the torch, drag Trump down and say, Vice President Harris we talked about the bridge to the future. She's the future.
So do you present Kamala Harris as an intimate and integral part of everything that's happened over the last 3.5 years? Or do you say, and lastly, I want to remind America that she had nothing to do with this?
Yeah, so there's a way to do that.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Because he can do all kinds of stuff. He can go pardon Hunter right now. He can do all kinds of stuff, right?
And he will.
And so what he can say is one of the greatest mistakes of my administration is that I didn't consult my vice president more often than I did. And that way, it gives her the pivot to say, well, if you would have consulted me more, it works, right?
You were in D.C. too long. So it's brilliant. So that is actually pretty good. My greatest regret, so he's admitting a failure.
Right.
is that I didn't consult her more. And it gives her the opportunity and be vague. You don't say what, because then she goes on the stump, and anything that she can present as a positive, she was a part of. Anything is a negative, she wasn't a part of.
He didn't really consult me on that one. Right. I mean, this is why I do crisis communications. Is like you got to think like that. You're in a crisis.
It's gross, but brilliant.
But you can pile everything on Joe Biden right now, and everything that you want to get rid of, put it with him. Let him do his goodbye. Take one for the team. He's not going to know it anyway.
In the context of the grand scheme of the election process leading to November, what you're saying is that Joe Biden is Kimberly Cheeto right now.
Yeah.
Because that's what they tried to do with her.
Yep.
I mean, I think her stonewalling and the fact that Christopher Wray was more forthcoming, because he wants to keep his job.
Yeah.
As FBI director. So he's going to let us know
Joe
what he
Biden's
knows.
the perfect scapegoat right now.
Yeah.
Put everything on Joe and say, and you tell him ahead of time, like, you're doing this for America. Like, you take one for the team here. We, inflation, all those policies, Harris can say, that was really President Biden's deal. I would have done it differently. And she doesn't have to say what she would have done differently. She just say, no. And then so she can, as long
I can't even do
and
the
some right now, and I want all of y'all to understand that the people on these campaigns are animals. And I mean like lizard people. They are not emotional. They do not get sucked into this stuff. They are purely looking at what's the best for the candidate to give them a chance to win. And they don't care about Joe Biden. Trust me.
Yeah, they do not care. And you've been closer to it than me, but I've been around for a minute. They do not care about the blood on the field.
Right.
They care about the score at the end of the game.
Amen.
And they don't care what they have to do to get there. It is not their job to care about America. It is not their job to care about America. Yeah. It is their job to win at all costs.
And there's no crying in politics.
Yeah.
You got to get over that. And I understand I'll use Mitt Romney as a great example. He wanted to be sort of the white knight, and he could have beaten Barack Obama. Everything, he had all the wind in his sails, but because he did not do the things you need to do to win, he failed. And that's where I'll give Trump's campaign this time. They are not messing around. They've got him disciplined. He may have spoke a little bit long at the convention, but by and large, he's hitting the right notes, doing the right things.
Dan is in Franklin. You'll join us next when we come back. It's 223 Super Talk 99.7. Phone calls available, 615-737-9986. I will get Cameron's assessment about what we know and, more importantly, what we don't know with regard to a story that has kind of moved down the headline list but ought to still be at the top, and that is obviously the assassination attempt of a former and potential future president of the United States of America. 223 on Super Talk. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for The Glock Store. When you call yourself The Glock Store, you best have every Glock imaginable right there in the shop. And they do at The Glock Store. When you call yourself The Glock Store, do you need to have the performance parts that people know and expect on your Glock, like pyramid triggers and tungsten guide rods and others? Yeah, you better have it all. You better have anything and everything imaginable for a Glock right there in stock in the store. And they do at the Glock Store. When you call yourself the Glock Store, do you have blacksmiths available to customize anything you want on your Glock? Do you have those performance parts ready to go, and do you put them on the Glock for free while the customer waits? All of those things exist at the Glock Store, but it's so much more. More than just Glocks. They've got other handguns. They've got long guns. They've got the shooting rooms. It's important that you understand this. Nobody's knocking shooting lanes. I get it. Sometimes that's all you can do. But if you want to enhance your experience, if you want to get better in your training, if you want to train better, you train in a room with a certified trainer from the Glock Store. Do that by going to shoot270.com or glockstore.com. Or better yet, stop by and see for yourself where you been. The Glock Store is on Airlane Drive, just off of Elm Hill Pike, right near Briley Parkway, minutes away from the airport and worth a drive from anywhere. It's the one and only Glock Store.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just wrapped up his address to Congress. We'll have some of what he said. And the FBI director, he was on Capitol Hill today as well, speaking. And we'll have those stories at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Jay Harper. It is 2:28, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm finding out from... have y'all heard this story that apparently happened in Antioch about the lottery? Am I missing this? Are we covering this? Where the guy... I think I got the story right. I need to confirm this before I talk about it any further. But if I have the story right, there was a shop owner, a convenience store owner, and a guy came in and got 2 lottery tickets, like scratch-offs. And all he did was he didn't scratch off the actual tickets to see if he won. He just scratched off the barcode at the bottom and then handed them back to the clerk and said, just scan those and let me know. And one of them was like a $40. Hey, you won $40. And the other one, the guy said, you didn't win anything. And he just went and he said, I'm just toss it. Okay, sure, toss it. Tossed it in the trash. And apparently that was a $1 million winner. And the clerk was trying, but what the clerk didn't apparently know when he went to turn in the $1 million winner is that on those types of prizes, they go to the store where it was purchased and they look at the video to make sure that there weren't any shenanigans, and they see him digging in the trash later. Jeez. And I think that this entire story happened in Antioch, but I'm not certain. I need to find out.
That's rough.
The guy got his money, and the other guy went to jail, which is nice.
It's fair.
Yeah, good, fair. Dan is next.
Matt, it was an Antioch man who won the...
There's my newsman right there.
Yeah, it was an Antioch man that won the ticket, but this happened at a gas station in Murfreesboro.
Okay. So Murfreesboro.
You got to watch out in the borough.
Yeah. Gotta watch out. Danger in the borough.
Yeah.
And that's fairly recent, right, Jay?
Yeah, it was like a day or two ago.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Look at this 99.7. I mean, this is top flight stuff.
But here's the deal, people. What are you doing with your scratchies? You gotta do the whole. That's the whole point,
too
right?
much work. Could you please tell me if I won?
Just tell me.
I can't even scratch it off.
I don't have my thumb.
Just want to know.
I get the goop underneath your thumbnail.
I don't like that.
I need a penny, and then you know.
At some point, we just don't have tickets anymore. It's just, I want to buy it. Here's $5. Tell me if I won. No.
You did not. Oh, thank you.
Here's $5 more. Did I win? No. It's great. I got a plan.
If that happens, you and I are opening a convenience store.
Yeah, we could save millions.
All right, Dan, we yucked it up a little too much, and I was unable to get to you, and that's okay, because we'll get to you moments from now. So hang in there, Dan, and if you're calling in, we'll get to you in the waning moments of the Matt Murphy Show with Cameron Smith. We'll get Cameron's take on what we know and what we don't on the assassination attempt against Donald Trump. That's all after Jay Harper's newscast, and Jay Harper's newscast happens now.
Good afternoon. It's 2:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds and 82 degrees on Music Row. A forecast is coming up. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressing a joint meeting of Congress today as part of his visit to Washington. Inside the chamber, the Prime Minister arrived to thunderous applause from lawmakers from both sides of the aisle. Netanyahu thanking the U.S. for its assistance in fighting against Hamas, and says Israeli forces will not rest until the terror network is defeated.
Never again must never be an empty promise. It must always remain a sacred vow. And after October 7th, never again is now.
Also on Capitol Hill today, FBI Director Christopher Wray gave a few more insights into the investigation of the assassination attempt against Donald Trump in Pennsylvania. Wray stressing to the panel that the investigation is still going on, but also said Thomas Matthew Crooks had 3 explosive devices, 2 in his car and 1 at his home.
I would say these are relatively, again, keyword relatively crude devices themselves, but they did have the ability to be detonated remotely.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy, and I want to talk to you about your health insurance for a moment. Are you depending on the government for affordable health insurance? I think you're doing it wrong if that's what you're doing. That's just my humble opinion. Now, I'm not familiar with the intimate details of what you got going on, but I'll tell you this. I know a guy who can ask some basic questions, and I know that he can figure out for you and your family what is best for you, and that is my guy, Pat Davis, and Your Health Plan Man. Pat Davis and his yourhealthplanman.com team offer great alternative health plans to government-run plans. If you own a business, for example, and you've not been able to offer your employees a health plan, there are inexpensive plans available for you and your employees. If you provide a health plan for your employees, but would like to offer a more conservative health plan with better benefits and 40 to 70% less on a monthly basis, less money out of your pocket and more for your employees when you use this plan, it's all about Your Health Plan Man. Please check out their website at yourhealthplanman.com, especially if you're a business owner. But if you have COBRA or an expensive plan through your work and you're frustrated with the amount of money that you're paying, 855-4-PLAN-MAN. That's 855-4-PLAN-MAN for Your Health Plan Man. Friends, I've done this with my family, and it was the best thing we could do, and I encourage you to do it as well. Go to yourhealthplanman.com. The Tennessee Men's Clinic wants to help you get the energy back in your life, gentlemen. And if you feel sluggish, run down, low down, you don't feel like you can get it done in the backyard. For example, you're doing a project in the backyard and you feel sluggish and run down. Or if you want to go to the gym, but you don't want to go to the gym, sluggish and run down. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. I'm not afraid of it. Bedroom activity, gentlemen. Half the men listening to me right now, at some point in your life, you'll have some form of experience with a lack of motivation or drive when it comes to that. There is no shame in this game. Let's get to Tennessee Men's Clinic and get it handled. That's what we do as men. We handle the issue and we move forward. The biggest complaint from Evan Bass and the rest of the team at Tennessee Men's Clinic, they tell me the biggest complaint that they get from men, they've got a variety of products, a variety of options, a variety of ways to tackle the issues that you're dealing with. the biggest complaint is that men don't do it sooner because they feel like they can just kind of whistle past the graveyard. Don't do that. TennesseeMen'sClinic.com is the website, or stop by one of the convenient locations, Cool Springs and Midtown Nashville. Give a call and schedule an appointment today at Tennessee Men's Clinic, 615-208-9090, 615-208-9090. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Cameron Smith, Matt Murphy. The Matt Murphy Show continues. We'll hand off to The Drive with Brian Wilson. That is upcoming in mere moments. It's midweek. Always love seeing Cameron in studio. Love seeing Cameron in studio. You know why I love seeing you so much?
Why, Matt?
That means we're all the way downhill to the weekend now. It has nothing to do with you, really. You're just a symbol.
Downhill Cameron. I get it.
So you and I were talking about something. I promised Dan that I would get to his telephone call, but I don't want to lose this. These officers, we were talking right before we came back. We were just discussing the assassination attempt and some of the things that we've heard, some of the things we don't know. And these local cops, that one lifted the one guy up on the roof, and apparently the gunman swung his gun to him, and that freaked him out. And he fell. But then they alerted people. And the gunman, regardless of whether they're insane or not, something that Brink Fiddler of Defense Systems has taught me is that as insane as these shooters are, they understand when the clock is ticking.
Yeah, they're human.
And in their insanity in a mass shooting situation, for example, they know that once they fire the first shot, or in this case, once they've been identified, that there is a limited amount of time to accomplish their goal.
Right.
And so in that way, never provable, no, of course not. But in that way, those officers that took it upon themselves to look up on the top of the roof to see what the hell was going on could have saved Donald Trump's life.
Yeah, and we're seeing from the testimony and some of the facts as they come out that after the officer fell, the shots came almost immediately after that, meaning that shooter realized they're going to they found me, so I've got to take my shot. Right, and so he did, shot 8 times.
And maybe he rushes, and and maybe Donald Trump's life is saved.
I think it was divine intervention that Trump turned. Had he not turned, he would be dead.
Every time not to mention seeing it, but every time I think about that graphic that somebody did with the graphic of the head from the top,
right,
and it shows the turn, and you can see in the video of him doing it, so you get a better sense of what it means in terms of where the bullet would have gone versus where it actually went.
Yep. Yep.
Just a crazy.
Very close.
Dan, as promised, out of Franklin. Hello, Dan.
Hey, great to talk to you again, Matt. We need more of Cameron because the stuff that he's been saying today has been absolutely brilliant off the charts about what Biden can do. But I want to get to...
Wait, hold on a second. What about Murphy? I mean, am I brilliant or what?
I already told and agreed with all the listeners about your pay raise, buddy. So,
You're good.
Okay, real quick. I got 3 things you could comment on. Any of them, I'm going to go real fast. Number one, where are all the truckers, the Harley-Davidson people, all of the people? I can't get there, but we need to have massive protests at the White House and at the Capitol to put major pressure because we're not doing it. I can't do it with where I'm at in my life. But I would just like to encourage all those truckers, all the people that can do protests. I really want them encouraged to do that. Number 2, as I saw a guy.
Wait, what are we protest? Wait, hold on. Before we go to number 2, what are we protesting?
Everything. Trump getting shot, the border, the crisis that's going on in the country all over the place. Everything. Number 1. Number 2, I saw a guy this morning on CBS 24-hour news. Some young dope who's one of these social media expert guys that the White House uses. We have to understand that these young people that are moving into running our country under people like Kamala Harris, these people have been growing up on this crazy, destructive mentality of these far-left people for 15 to 20 years. So this is what they believe. It's in their bones, and they will destroy our country. The last thing is that every single time Trump or anybody else, Andy Ogles, who's freaking amazing, love that guy, every single time these guys get up, they need to take the list of everything that you read that Kamala Harris has voted for, and they need to tie it directly to the person that is sitting on their TV or their computer or their phone watching the debate, and they need to say, when people come over the border, they take your jobs. When drugs come over the border, they kill your kids and your grandkids and people in your community. When inflation goes up, you can't buy anything. They need to talk directly to the listeners. That's what I have to say.
All right, let's take them one at a time. Dan, thank you for the call, and I'll let you listen on the radio. As far as protest, conservatives and libertarians typically they're
bad at it.
They don't do protest very well, especially when the protests don't have a real specific target.
Yeah.
I remember, and I know you were up there at the time, in 2008 when Bush wanted to amnestize illegal aliens.
Yeah.
And they were trying to get some border security funding, but they agreed, the Gang of Eight agreed, McCain led the charge on that. They agreed to allow for amnesty, and Jeff Sessions, I don't care what you say about the man as Attorney General of the United States of America, he will always have my heart, because that man was a one-man wrecking crew when it came to stopping amnesty.
And people mailed us bricks.
And that's what I remember. The protests were in the form of, and I forget it wasn't me. I wish I could take credit for it. It might have been Limbaugh. I don't know who it was, but somebody suggested on one of these platforms mailing bricks, and I thought, what a great suggestion.
Yeah, they need to build the wall. Let's help.
Okay, there you go.
I'm talking wheelbarrow loads of bricks.
Lots of bricks.
A lot of bricks.
So if you don't have a real keen, focused target in terms of your protests, I don't think people are very good at it. And thirdly, as many, many listeners are currently pointing out, we got jobs, man.
Yeah. Truckers have to keep our country going, so there's that. That's a big. We need them to deliver things.
As far as her record and focusing on that, 100%. Let's get beyond. I mean, look, we can have fun with the cackling all we want. You know, if we're together having a cigar and drinking some brown water, we can have some fun with the Willie Brown jokes. But as far as moving the needle in terms of votes, just focus on her record. She is the most radical presentation. I include Obama in this. Do you agree with me that she's fair. More radical than Obama? Yeah. She is the most radical leftist presentation on the part of the Democrats in the history of the United States of America. We need to focus on that. And I forgot what number 2 was.
Well, I did want to talk. You mentioned Ogles. Actually, I think Ogles had an unforced error with the introducing articles of impeachment. It's just a distraction.
It's a sideshow.
Yes, this is the sideshow stuff that it makes us look unserious. This is like a Marjorie Taylor Greene type thing where it's like, well, we should impeach her too. Well, you don't like her. We don't need to vote for her. We should vote against her. But
you know how the American people impeach Kamala Harris?
They don't let her win.
They vote for Donald Trump.
Right.
That's.
So we got to get past this. If you fail at your job, you get impeached. That's not a thing. It's high crimes and misdemeanors. That's the standard. And we should go back to it being a high bar. And I get it. Democrats, they went after Trump. And so then Republicans are like, well, we're going to go after folks. Okay, but this is silliness.
I thought it was stupid when it was happening to Donald Trump. And unless evidence presents itself that it rises to the level of a high crime or a misdemeanor, I'm going to think it's stupid if it happens to Democrats too. The way that you solve that issue is to win elections.
Yes.
Right? And
that is our political remedy.
And here's the thing. We have the ideas that the American people believe in.
Yes.
I mean, we have that going for us. The reason the left wants to wallow in the issue of racism, the reason they want to play out of that playbook is because they feel like that, A, is all they have, and B, it works for them by motivating their base. We need to get away from that and move to the issues that matter to the American people.
And they're going to use this with Harris, is that anybody that comes out, you saw it with the Burchett stuff, anytime they can, they're going to pivot and be like, well, the critique here is basically steeped in racism. And if we play that game, if folks do make those comments, they're going to be on a loop. So attack her on a record. Attack her for failing on immigration. Attack her for failing in the Democratic primary. But the idea of, okay, well, we need to make fun and play games. We shouldn't play games here because she could still win.
Who really believes in democracy when you've got we haven't gone into this, and I know it's a little nerdy, or it seems a little nerdy, but I think, the point needs to be made over and over again. These same, people, and I could be nasty, but I won't. that wagged their fingers at us about the sanctity of democracy and protecting democracy and defending democracy. Boy, they threw that primary out of the window pretty quick, didn't they?
They threw it when Joe Biden was still in the race. They threw it out. And then when they ordained that it's fair game to beat Joe to death and force his withdrawal. Don't get the idea that he was doing this out of the goodness of his heart. This was forced. He was forced out of this race because, and we saw the pivot, once the media started hammering him, it was over. He was gone. And you and I talked about that. But that, to me, is where they kind of undermined the whole Democrat. But it wasn't just recently. They undermined it from the word go. They said, this is the guy, no challenges, don't ask any questions.
Right.
And
I mean, what if you're RFK right now? And you're like, I'm a Democrat. I've been a Democrat. I wanted to run as an alternative choice to Joe.
You wouldn't let me.
You would not allow me, to the point that I had to run as an independent. And now you're just throwing all that out of the window. What about me?
Yeah.
I mean, and it's fascinating. None of them seem to care. And none of the party elites. I mean, because and no media outlets are going to make them answerable to it.
Well, and in fairness, you vote for the delegates, right? Those are downstream. You and I see it. You vote for the delegates for Biden, so you're sending them as well. And so Democrats did that. Biden voluntarily, we call it voluntarily, withdraws.
Is that what that's what we're going to call it?
We're going to call it that because they're going to call it that,
That's
right? It wasn't. We know that. But like he's saying, I resign, from this campaign. I'm stepping away. So he releases those delegates. And then the party brass basically lines up that before they even have the convention. So forget the idea of delegates getting to nominate somebody and different candidates coming in and making their pitch. We won't hear that. In all likelihood, it will just be welcome. And we're supposed to ignore the fact that Harris wasn't the nominee. That this is hey, we got to have a call ahead of time. She's already secured enough delegates, so nobody come in and challenge. Let's make this clean, because they don't want an open convention because they think that's bad for Democrats. I think it'd actually help them.
I think I can give them the, hey, he, quote, voluntarily left. I can give them the, hey, this is the way the process works. The delegates are pledged to him. When he says, I'm no longer in the race, they're unpledged. They can vote for whoever they want. But, I mean, you hit on the two most important points. One, what they did to rig the game for Joe at the beginning.
Right.
And two, how they're rigging it now for Kamala, because they don't want to. I mean, if they believed in democracy, they would say, okay, obviously Kamala Harris is our front runner. She's the vice president of the United States.
Sure.
But we're going to have an open convention here. That's the way we have to do it. And we go to the convention and folks can lobby and make their voices heard, and let's go.
I've had Democrats respond to the stuff that I've written in critique of Harris back to me saying, hey, I feel that. Like, I actually, there are folks that want to beat Trump, and they're saying, well, why can't we have the conversation about who's best situated? Why can't we have an open nominations and go through the process? Why, if we believe in this stuff, why are we doing it this way? And I think that's a fair question. If I'm a Democrat right now, I'm ticked because you're telling the rest of the country, oh, here you go. Here's your California liberal. Have fun. Bye.
What's the most important question to answer about the assassination attempt? I mean,
when did the Secret Service know that there was a shooter on that roof?
A threat.
An actual threat. I'm not talking about person of interest. I'm talking there's an active shooter, because we saw the day of folks saying, well, we told them, hey, there's a guy up on that building. If there's a guy on a roof, there's no good reason to be on that roof.
Right.
I would think that's an active threat. And did they ignore that?
You either immediately identify that as a good guy or a threat.
Yeah, either you're one of our snipers or
you're a threat.
You're a threat. Those are the only two options there.
Yeah, good one. All right, 52 after the hour. We'll check in briefly with Brian Wilson coming up in just a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, I spent 3 hours on the radio, and I didn't mention that Donald Trump was on an hour-long video with Bryson DeChambeau playing golf. And if you've not seen it, you need to see it because it is absolutely fabulous. Brian Wilson joins us right now. He's got the drive coming up in mere seconds. I'm running a little bit late, and I apologize for that, Brian, but plenty of time to find out from you what's happening on the drive today, my friend.
Well, I've kept my head pretty much throughout the morning into this hearing with the FBI Director Christopher Wray, and I think it's interesting the things that he's able to bring. He was, as much as he could be, it seems to me, pretty transparent about what they have learned and what they don't know. And there is, I think, the one overriding thing that's being missed by most of the reporting on this, and that is he says he's only investigating the shooter. And the FBI is not at all involved in any investigation of the Secret Service. Mm-hmm. And it's possible, big misses in all of this. And so that I think is very interesting. It makes me happy that the Congress is asking a lot of questions about the Secret Service, but I got to tell you, the frustration that I have now after watching this hearing is there's some pretty stupid people in Congress. And they're asking really dumb questions. And they're not asking the right questions. Well, and right. It's frustrating, very frustrating.
Well, certainly by contrast, the contrast between himself and Kimberly Cheeto, it seems open and refreshing, but there are still many, many answers to get to.
I think you're right. I'll get into that right off the top.
All right, there's Brian Wilson. The drive is on the way next, right after the newscast with Jay Harper. He's got 4 full hours leading up to the remarks by President Joe Biden tonight at 7 o'clock or just after 7 o'clock Central Time, Middle Tennessee Time, and we'll carry that for you live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN right after the drive with Mr. Wilson. Have a great afternoon, folks. Hug your loved ones. We'll talk to you tomorrow at high noon. Until then, for Cameron Smith, Matt Murphy, so long.